Imagine waking up tomorrow in a world where nobody ever talks about anyone who's not standing right in front of them. No rumors, no whispers, no, "Did you hear what happened?" At first, it sounds peaceful, less drama, less conflict, but by sunset, something strange begins to happen. You no longer know who to trust. You don't know who cheated, who lied, who helped, or who might stab you in the back. And without realizing it, you're suddenly far less likely to survive. So here's the mystery. Why would evolution keep something as messy as gossip alive? And what if the habit most people call a flaw was actually one of humanity's greatest inventions? People love to say gossip is useless, wasted time, just people talking behind each other's backs. It sounds convincing until you imagine living without it.
30,000 years ago, you don't have police, no newspapers, no internet, not even writing. Your entire world is made up of maybe 50 people. Everyone depends on everyone else. One lazy hunter means empty stomachs. One violent person can destroy an entire family. One selfish decision can leave children hungry. But here's the problem. You can't personally watch everyone, not even close. You're asleep for hours, you leave camp, you hunt, you gather food. Things happen while you're gone. So how do you know who's reliable? How do you know who secretly steals food? Who abandons others during danger? Who always shares? Who never does? Without that knowledge, every decision becomes a gamble. Who do you hunt with? Who watches your children? Who deserves your trust? Suddenly, talking about people doesn't sound so pointless anymore. It starts sounding like survival. And that raises an uncomfortable question. If gossip was useful, then why does almost every culture pretend it's bad? Because the story gets much stranger. Imagine meeting someone new. They're smiling, friendly, funny. They offer to help. Would you trust them?
Most people think they decide that by reading body language or instincts, but your brain quietly asks a different question. What have I heard about this person? Not what you've seen, what you've heard. That's a huge difference because one human lifetime isn't long enough to personally test everyone. You borrow other people's experiences. Someone says, "He always keeps his promises." Instantly, your brain updates. Another whispers, "Be careful around him." Again, your brain updates. It's like downloading information you never experienced yourself. Pretty efficient, unless the information is completely wrong. Now, the same system that protects you can destroy innocent people. So why would evolution build something so dangerous? Because the alternative was even worse. Think about wolves. A wolf pack stays together because every member watches every other member. Now, imagine a group 10 times larger. Watching everyone becomes impossible. Something had to replace constant observation, and humans found a shortcut. Words. Not just language, conversation, stories, reputations, tiny pieces of information passing from one person to another, until suddenly everyone knows who can be trusted, or at least thinks they do.
Funny enough, humans invented the original review system thousands of years before websites ever existed. Except instead of stars, you got stories. And those stories could save your life or ruin it. Now here's where things become even stranger. Scientists studying conversations noticed something surprising. People don't spend most of their time discussing hunting, or food, or weather. They spend an enormous amount of time talking about other people. That sounds ridiculous. Shouldn't survival conversations focus on survival? Actually, they do, just not the way you'd expect. Suppose someone says, "Did you hear? He refused to share meat after yesterday's hunt." That isn't celebrity drama. It's valuable information. If resources become scarce, maybe don't rely on him. Or maybe the story isn't true. Now you have another mystery to solve. Who should you believe? Suddenly, gossip isn't just information. It's information about information. Your brain has to judge both the story and the storyteller. If someone constantly spreads lies, their own reputation starts collapsing. In a strange twist, even gossip itself gets judged through gossip. Humans somehow created a system that watches itself. Messy, confusing, oddly brilliant.
Now, imagine sitting around a fire after sunset. Nobody has phones, no television, no books. Darkness covers everything outside the camp. What do people do? They talk. At first about the day's hunt, then about strange footprints, then about someone's brave decision. Then someone quietly says, "You know what happened between those two?" Everyone leans in. Not because humans are naturally nosy, because every story might contain hidden survival information. Who cooperates? Who lies? Who breaks promises? Who risks the group? The conversation becomes an invisible map of everyone's behavior. Without realizing it, the tribe is constantly updating its operating system. And here's something almost funny. That little feeling you get when someone says, "I've got something to tell you," your attention instantly locks on. It's almost impossible to ignore. You could be carrying water, cooking food, fixing tools, yet somehow your ears decide this might be important. Your ancestors who ignored those conversations may have missed information that mattered. The curious ones, they often stayed one step ahead. Of course, curiosity has a downside. Once your brain realizes social information feels rewarding, it wants more, much more. It's almost like eating just one potato chip. Good luck stopping there.
But if gossip became so useful, why don't chimpanzees simply do the same thing? That question puzzled scientists for years. Chimpanzees have friendships, rivals, families, politics. Everything seems perfect for gossip, except they face one enormous limitation. They can't describe people who aren't present with anything close to human precision, and that changes everything. Instead, chimpanzees spend huge amounts of time grooming each other, picking dirt from fur, removing insects, cleaning. It looks boring, but grooming isn't really about hygiene. It's about relationships. Every minute spent grooming says, "I trust you. You matter. We're allies." It strengthens social bonds. The problem? It takes forever. If your group has 6 members, no big deal. If your group has 20, things become difficult. If your group reaches 100, it's impossible. You'd spend your entire life scratching backs. Humans somehow escaped that limit, not by growing extra hands, by discovering something far more powerful: words. Instead of grooming one person, you could talk with several at once. One conversation could strengthen multiple relationships simultaneously. No fur required. Somewhere in humanity's distant past, conversation quietly replaced fingers. Talking became the new grooming, which means the sentence, "So, did you hear what happened?" may have been one of the greatest evolutionary upgrades our species ever stumbled into. But replacing grooming created an unexpected problem nobody saw coming, because once words could build trust, they could also manipulate it. People quickly discovered something dangerous. If you control the story, you influence the tribe. Not with muscles, not with weapons, with reputation. Imagine 2 hunters, both equally skilled, both equally brave, but one hunter is constantly described as generous. The other quietly earns a reputation for being selfish. Months later, who gets invited on the next hunt? Who finds a partner more easily? Who receives help during hard times? The answer may have nothing to do with what they actually did. It depends on what everyone believes they did. That changes everything. For the first time, survival isn't only about actions, it's about stories. And stories spread much faster than people. That's why gossip stopped being random conversation. It became social memory.
No single human could remember everything, but together, a tribe could. Every conversation stored tiny pieces of information. One person remembered who shared food, another remembered who disappeared during danger. Someone else remembered who settled arguments peacefully. Little by little, the group built a memory far larger than any individual brain. It's almost like the tribe invented cloud storage thousands of years before electricity. Pretty impressive for people wearing animal skins. But here's the twist. Memory isn't perfect. Every time a story gets repeated, it changes. A detail disappears. Another gets exaggerated. Someone misunderstands something. Someone else fills in the blanks. By the 10th retelling, the story barely resembles reality. Sound familiar? It should. Even today, a single post online can transform beyond recognition in just a few hours. The technology changed. Your brain didn't. And that's the strange part. People often blame social media for spreading rumors, but social media didn't invent the behavior. It simply gave ancient instincts a faster vehicle. The machinery inside your head is much older than the smartphone in your pocket. In fact, researchers studying the brain have found that social information activates powerful reward systems. Not because your brain enjoys drama.
Because throughout most of human history, knowing people meant staying alive.
Your brain still treats social information like valuable food. It pays attention, it remembers, it rewards curiosity, even when the conversation has nothing to do with survival anymore. That's why it's surprisingly difficult to ignore someone whispering nearby or resist asking, "So, what happened?" Your ancient brain quietly thinks this could matter, even when it's just office gossip or neighborhood rumors or celebrities you'll never meet. The system doesn't perfectly distinguish between useful information and entertaining information. Sometimes it gets fooled, which explains another mystery. Why do complete strangers care about the lives of other complete strangers? Logically, it makes no sense, yet millions follow every breakup, every scandal, every awkward interview, every embarrassing mistake. Why? Because your brain recognizes a familiar pattern. Someone's status is changing. Someone broke a rule. Someone gained allies. Someone lost them. Those signals once helped our ancestors understand their own social world.
Today, the same wiring follows people living thousands of miles away. Your instincts never received the software update. But evolution built another safety feature, one that's easy to miss. Think about what happens when someone constantly spreads false rumors. At first, people listen. Then inconsistencies appear. Stories don't match. Trust begins to crack. Eventually, the gossiper becomes the story. Others whisper, "Don't believe everything they say." Without realizing it, the community starts policing information itself. Not perfectly, but surprisingly well. Truth earns reputation. Lies destroy it, at least over time. Of course, reality isn't always that neat. Sometimes false stories spread faster than true ones. Sometimes innocent people suffer. Sometimes entire communities believe things that never happened. That weakness has followed humanity for thousands of years. Yet, despite all those flaws, the system survived, because overall, it worked better than silence. Silence leaves everyone guessing. Conversation gives people something to evaluate, even if imperfect. Now, zoom out for a second.
Imagine trying to build a village, or a city, or an empire, without reputation, without trust, without people sharing information about cooperation. Business couldn't function, trade would collapse, friendships would constantly restart from zero. Every generation would need to rediscover who deserves trust. Civilization would move painfully slowly. Instead, humans created invisible networks built from stories. Every recommendation, every warning, every compliment, every criticism. Tiny threads connecting millions of people. You probably rely on them every day without noticing. You read reviews before buying something. You ask friends about doctors. You trust recommendations. You avoid places with bad reputations. It feels modern. It's actually ancient. The technology changed. The behavior barely did. Even your own reputation exists in dozens of minds you've never entered. Coworkers, friends, neighbors, family. Each person carries a slightly different version of you. No one owns the complete picture. Yet together, they shape opportunities you'll never even see. That's fascinating and slightly terrifying.
Here's another strange thought. Language didn't just help humans exchange ideas, it allowed humans to exchange social reality. Money only works because people agree it has value. Laws only work because people agree they matter. Companies exist because people believe they exist. Even nations depend on shared stories, and shared stories begin with conversations. One person tells another, then another, then another. The same mechanism that once warned hunters about unreliable partners eventually connected millions of strangers. That's an incredible leap from one simple habit. So maybe gossip was never really about talking behind someone's back. Maybe it was humanity slowly learning how to manage relationships too large to see with its own eyes. A conversation became an invisible bridge. A whispered warning became protection. A shared compliment encouraged cooperation. A reputation became social currency. Suddenly, gossip doesn't look like civilization's flaw. It starts looking like one of its foundations. Which brings us back to the question from the beginning. What would happen if nobody ever talked about people who weren't in the room? At first, life might seem quieter, kinder, more peaceful. But beneath that silence, trust would begin to disappear. Communities would shrink. Cooperation would weaken. every stranger would become another mystery. Because humans were never designed to survive alone, we survived by sharing knowledge, not just about animals or weather, but about each other. So the next time you hear someone whisper, "Did you hear what happened?" Remember, you're listening to an instinct that may have helped build villages, kingdoms, and civilizations long before history ever wrote down a single word. And maybe the most surprising part isn't that humans gossip so much. It's that a few whispered words around an ancient campfire may have changed the course of our entire species forever.